Next, we'll move on to a new composition called Compositing to Scene. And we see our friendly guitar guy again performing in front of the green screen. He's been cut down to a very small section of his performance, and we'll composite him over some background. There are many reasons for using green screen. First, we'll start out by applying our effect. Now, if you have Apply Animation or recent presets grayed out, chances are that you don't have the layer selected. You need to have the layer selected as your target for where you want to apply your preset. Once it's selected, we can use the last preset that we created to key him out. Next, we'll go to the project panel and take a look at the different options we have to composite with him. The first movie we'll pick is called Inferno Loop. It's very simply a looping element of fire. If we drag this down below the layer in our composite, we can see that the clip of the fire is much smaller than our composite itself. Rather than filling the screen or scaling it up by 400%, we can go to the Layer pull-down, then under Transform, we will fit this to the composition's height. This allows that layer to fit to the composition's height and possibly the width, as it is in this case, without changing the aspect ratio of the original footage. Here we can composite our guitar player over a flaming background, which probably wouldn't be practical on a set or a stage, and might be dangerous for our actors, and a good reason to create a green screen shoot. Another backplate we might use is found down here under Photos. In the Photos folder, there are 3 photos, the first of which is called Grasses JPEG. By double-clicking on these, we can see that they're simply photographs of some plant life. We can also see that these images are named numerically by the digital camera that took them. Instead of using the naming convention that the digital camera used, I want to name them in a way that better describes the image in the picture. In After Effects CS3, I can do that by simply clicking on the source in our project panel and then using the Enter key or the Return key on your keyboard, then typing in its new name. By double-clicking, I can see what the image looks like, so I can name this according to the image itself. Once these sources are renamed, you'll see that After Effects takes over and sorts them alphanumerically. We'll take one of these and move it down into the composition below the layer of our green screen. We don't need the fire anymore, so we'll select that and delete it. We'll close the Effects and Presets window to allow us a little more space in order to composite this scene. We'll also scale the timeline down a bit in order to give us some more space to see our composite come together. In addition to using green screen, when an element is too dangerous to shoot next to an actor, you may want to use a green screen shoot when a prop is too difficult to manufacture for the composite. Here it would be difficult to create a large forest of small plants around our actor, but it's very easy to use footage, then composite him with the source material shot later. Another reason to use a key is that we might want to isolate the foreground from the background materials so that we can affect them separately. We'll select the Circus Guy layer, then go to our effects controls to see the effects. Currently, we only have one key on him. We can close up the key light effect and go up to the effects controls, then go down to color correction and choose color balance. Color balance will allow us to change the red, green, and blue channels based on their shadow, midtones, or highlights. We'll increase the green shadow by about 40, blending him back in to the background a little bit more. We'll change the midtones for the red balance as well to warm him up, even though he's got a little bit of green in him in his shadows. We'll change the midtones for the blue, and just a touch of the highlights in the red to bring back his skin. Next, we'll add another effect to color correct him. Using our color correction, we'll choose Levels. Here we can do a very simple contrast correction by bringing our input black levels up. Last, we'll twirl this up and twirl up the color balance as well. And we'll apply one last effect. So under Effect, this time we'll go down to Stylize, and from the list we'll select Find Edges. Find Edges works similarly, finding all of the high contrast inside of our RGB image. So as we change the levels for this, we'll see new edges being detected by our Find Edge plugin. Close up our levels, then take a look at the options inside of Find Edges. Here at the top we have the ability to invert the Find Edges plugin. What this will do is produce white lines with a dark interior rather than dark lines with a white interior. With the darker interior selected, we can now see where some of the color is already starting to come through this plugin. By blending it with the original by about 55%, we can see the source material as well as some of the edges produced by the plugin as well. The last thing we'll do to finish off this composition is to select all of these effects by clicking on the first one and shift-clicking on the last one to select the range in between. Then we'll use Control-C or Command-C on the Mac to copy them. Then we'll select the background. Then we'll use Control-V or Command-V on the Mac to paste those onto the background layer. The background layer may need a different levels correction than the foreground. So we'll twirl these up and modify our background. Additionally, the background may need a little bit of a blur to mimic the depth of field you might find in a camera. So from the effects, we'll pull down to the blur family and select lens blur. Our lens blur currently has an iris radius of 15, which may be a little bit too big. We'll lower this to about 4.